Hey, mate. You all right? Hey, look over here. Hey, mate. Oh, God. Oh, you got me. You got me good. Hi there. I'm Newt. You'll get your name eventually. Welcome to the Glade. There's a giant maze over there. Don't go in there or you'll die. These things called grievers. It's really crazy. You'll get used to it. Just get comfortable. It's okay. Everybody racks this way. It's all right. Okay. Yeah. Hey, where are you going? It's fine. It's fine. Hey, just relax.
I'm Josh Elliott.
I am Daria Harris.
I'm Bret Williams.
And I'm the better Harris Bethany.
Incorrect.
Today we're going to be reviewing the third film of the Maze Runner series, The Death Cure.
We created this channel after the first two movies came out, so brief thoughts on the first two?
I read the books before I watched any of the movies, and I loved the books. I thought the first movie followed the books pretty well. The second one didn't follow the books at all.
Thomas and his friends, after the second one, Mina and a bunch of other of his friends are captured. The whole goal of the movie, it's like a rescue mission where they go into a big city run by Wicked.
Yeah, it's kind of about bringing down Wicked.
There were some things in the book that kind of stayed true, but really didn't.
I haven't read the book. I haven't read any of the books. I was just going based off of the previous two movies, and I wasn't the biggest fan of either of them. I really liked this movie. A lot more than I was expecting to.
Same here. I thought this movie was going to be terrible because while they were filming this movie, Dylan O'Brien was terribly injured, and he was in the hospital for months.
And then it came out in January, which is where most movies go to die.
That's like the wasteland of movies. Thomas and Newt and Mino, all the mains are great. Newt is definitely the best for me.
He's always been my favorite character, even throughout all the books, but even in the movies, he definitely lived up to his
the actor who
book
plays
standard.
him,
Thomas Brodie-Sangster, yeah.
He's really good. He has a really cute baby face, you know?
I always describe him as a weird mix between cute and hot that you can't figure out which one it is.
He's 30, but he looks like he's 20.
Do you know what character really impressed me?
Who?
Teresa.
Oh, no.
No.
I'm sorry, no.
Not only is she a mean person in the books and destroys everything, I don't like the actress.
I liked her because in the first two movies, they kept making it seem like she was going to be really important, but she never did anything important. And in this movie, she finally does something important.
That's
she finally has actual conflict. And she's finally relevant to the plot.
I kind of see the conflict that she has, and the conflict is obvious. However, I feel like there was no character development in her throughout the series.
I think in the books, she actually had
did have a
depth
character.
to her character.
Yeah,
But then in the movie, I don't know if it was just how they did the character or if it was the actress. But like Daria said, she felt hollow.
But I do think the writing improved for her in this movie. I was finally interested in her character. I was interested in what she was up to as opposed to the first two movies where she was just a
I
nothing
agree.
person.
It got a lot
true.
better by the last movie.
Yeah.
She actually had something to do instead of just kind of there.
Are you alright there? Thought it was some girl. It's a girl. Bloody hell, oh wow!
Thomas!
Who are you?
I'm Teresa. I'm really important.
Why?
I don't know.
Not explainable.
Okay. Oh no, she died.
A lot of the action set pieces and the way things were filmed were actually really impressive. In my opinion, I think the script is absolute crap. If this was the first movie ever invented and nobody had ever done anything before, this would be a masterpiece of film. But since every film before this has done the same thing, it's so cliche that I just felt this has been done before. Nothing's new.
The story itself did surprise me at times. I didn't know where it was gonna go.
Yeah.
I think it's harder to be that way when you've read the books, though. I can see
Oh,
how he was
'Cause
focused more on the dialogue and the cliches and stuff.
Because he
Because
already
he
already
knew
knew
it was
the story and knew what was
going
gonna
to
happen.
Where it was
That's
going to
true.
go.
But then again, I've seen a lot of movies that are like this, the sci-fi, young adult, fiction novel. So many of these are the same, where they have the same, tread.
Well, I would say, as far as, following the tread of others, there's nothing else like the first one, them being trapped in this glade and being tested on and stuff. What's kind of disappointing is how it fell into that in the last movie. Mockingjay Part 2 knockoff.
That's exactly it.
But it felt very anticlimactic. Whereas Maze Runner: The Death Cure, it feels climactic.
It's fast.
It feels like the end of a series.
That's one thing that was great about this movie. It was very fast paced. Like it happened very quick.
Yeah.
This movie,
I do see the knockoff, even in characters. Like you think of President Coin from the Hunger Games, Ava Page. They were so similar to me.
I hate to be devil's advocate again, but I also just want to point out that Ava Page does get her own little subplot of character development in this one. This is the very first time you see their side of it. They genuinely think they are helping, because if they don't do these terrible things to the kids, then all of humanity could die.
Going back to the fast pace of this film, like I never really felt like there was a scene in between that was dull. I felt like the action just kept on going.
In that way, it did follow the books, because there's never a part in the books where you're like, goodness, is this ever going to be over?
The books hit you hard.
Yeah.
Should we go to spoilers now?
Yeah.
Galley comes back, but like it didn't really do anything for the movie.
Also, did they ever explain how he came back?
They threw a spear in his chest and he survived that. Like, what the hell?
Man, this island.
Should be dead right now, but it's fine.
Hey, but you're not.
I mean, I literally got stabbed.
Hey, who's that?
I don't know.
Oh my god, Buddy Galley! What the hell?
I think my biggest complaint, probably out of the entire plot, is Newt's death. In the books, Thomas gets the note from Newt. In the book, Newt has already run away. He writes this note and runs away. Thomas runs after Newt and tracks him down, and when he finally finds him, they get into this big fight because Newt is turning into a crank. That scene ends with Newt on the ground and Thomas has a gun to his head, but Newt's holding it there. Well, Newt killed himself in the movie.
It's more impactful that Thomas kills him.
Yeah, Thomas kills
because he
him
has
in
to
the
live
book,
with that.
so-
Teresa died. I did not care.
Me too. When she died, I didn't feel anything really. I was just kind of oh.
Okay.
How did you feel about it, Josh? Because you seem to like the characters.
Yeah.
Any upset that I felt was toward Thomas, because I was invested in his conflict as well, because he was betrayed by her, but he also knew that she did what she thought was right, what she thought was best. I think a lot of my compliments with this movie are things that most movies should just naturally do that I shouldn't be complimenting, but because the first two movies didn't do them and this one did, it's more impressive to me. This kind of was a very generic teenagers overthrowing the government movie. I think it did something different with it, though. I think it gave depth to characters that had never had depth before. It had better pacing and tension than any of the other Maze Runner movies. It felt like it had a good core to it, a good theme, something that I don't think the other two Maze Runner movies had. It is a generic template, but I thought they did a lot of interesting things with it, so I'm gonna give it a 7.
Because I read the books, I do have a different perspective on it as far as following the story and the character development and stuff like that. If I separated myself from the books and thought, okay, never read them before, I would have seen it as a good film. And I still see it, I would watch it again. I do think that overall it was a good movie, and so I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10.
When I go into movies like this that are based off books that I've already read, like she said, I always like to kind of forget about what I've read, because I don't want to judge a movie on how reliable it is to its source material. And I would say that this is actually a really, not forgettable, but just a very solid final film to a trilogy that was already kind of weak to begin with. Because of that, I'm going to give it a 6.
I agree with what you guys have said about stepping back from the fact that you already know the story from the books and how it doesn't follow that. As a movie on its own, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was when I thought about how it didn't follow the book that I didn't like it. If I just look at the movie and all of its aspects, I would actually rate it a 7.
The final verdict is a 6.5.
I think that's pretty fair. What did you think of The Death Cure, if you're a die-hard Maze Runner fan or not? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment and let us know. Peace out!
Come on, we can get you back to the helicopter. Come on. You're good. You're good. You're gonna be alright. You're gonna be alright. Come on. We can make it. We can make it. Come on.
Here, let me help.
Wait. Stop the scene. Wait, stop.
Who are you?
I'm Brenda.
Wait. Who?
Brenda. I was so big in the second movie, the star.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we totally forgot to talk about you in this review.
Yeah, we kind of forgot you were in
Yeah,
the movie.
you kind of sucked.
Yeah, you really weren't important in this one.
Yeah, I gotta go. My bus is here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let's just Okay. No, come on. Yeah, we can make it, Nuke.
Thanks for watching our video.
Click here to subscribe.
And click here to watch our last video. Bye.
Bret,
Bret,
what did we do?
we're trying to do the outro. Bret, get out of
Bret.